All rise.
So in many places, years, if not decades, go by in between the murders of police officers. But in Minnesota alone, we've had 5 first responders murdered in Minnesota in just 13 months. Why is that?
My family's been in the state since 1949, so I'm as Minnesotan as it comes. And I think after, my opinion, after George Floyd, there was a complete lack of respect that was perpetrated against law enforcement by politicians.
The tragic and senseless murder of George Floyd.
If you're feeling that sadness and that anger, it's not only understandable, it's right.
Prejudging what you're going to do before you have facts is not a good idea.
This council is going to dismantle this police department.
And I think that this permeated throughout society where people just felt that they didn't have to respect law enforcement.
Trying to get this man to safety down the other end of the...
We have created an environment right now where it is in vogue for a certain segment of our society to get up in the police's face. And it really went, in my view, on steroids by the reaction to the riots.
We are doing absolutely everything that we can to keep the peace.
Now, what's the plan here? What are we doing?
With regard to
Governor Walz, looking back, what would you do differently in reaction to the protests that turned violent? Governor Walz, you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, first of all, this isn't theoretical. When you're in the room, you have to make the decision. Sitting on the sidelines and critiquing, that's not what being governor is. There was no social control, and her constituents were locked in their house wondering what they were going to do. That is an abject failure that cannot happen.
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational.
Polk County Deputy Josh Owen was shot and killed after responding to a domestic call.
Yesterday, April 15th, Polk County law enforcement lost a brother.
Dozens of law enforcement officers escorted Deputy Josh Owen's body to the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's office overnight.
What we know so far is that 2 Burnsville police officers have been shot and killed. A firefighter paramedic also shot and killed. And it looks like several other Burnsville police officers were shot and injured.
Words can't express how hard today has been.
Live images now as we continue to follow breaking news, colleagues and the community honoring a fallen officer.
People who wear these uniforms, these badges, are people too.
Officer Jamal Mitchell was ambushed.
My heart is broken beyond words, and what a mess to make.
We are ignoring the issues about the #1 role of government, and that is to keep us all safe.
After the George Floyd riots, did Josh worry about being a police officer and doing his job?
I don't think he's so much worried about it. I think he was more angry about it because he did come down here during that time. And there was a lot of them that were down here during that time that got hit with bricks and spit on and called all kinds of names. And I think with Josh's military experience that he was kind of numb to a lot of that type of behavior just because of being in Iraq and stuff. They dealt with a lot of people over there doing stuff like that, but not like in Minnesota. You just don't expect people to treat cops like that when they're trying to help the situation. So that part I think he was angry about. It was just the way people were acting down here and not, wanting to help.
It sounds like he was open too about worrying about the politics of policing.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of that, because the way they're wanting to defund them.
But we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
No one is advocating for lawlessness. No one is advocating for our community to be endangered.
But also, they're afraid that if they do something wrong, that they're gonna go to prison, So a lot of times it's just like they can't do anything at all. And he thought about quitting, and that was before he died. He was thinking about quitting. And that's the part bugs me too, because it's like maybe a week he would have been quitting, and then he died. So it's just, that part makes me really angry because he could have been doing something else in a week.
Tell us about that day then in April, his birthday.
It was probably like 20 minutes into dinner. He got the call for domestic, and I kind of heard it because the radio and stuff, and it didn't sound like anything too bad was happening. It was a couple just, fighting back and forth or whatever, and I've heard those calls many times. And it sounded like they were okay, and then a few minutes later, they called for backup. They said, this is just getting worse. I need another guy here, and Josh was the big guy, and so they wanted the muscle in, they always would say, and he showed up, and I think he was only there for probably 60 seconds, maybe not even, and he was told to arrest the guy, and the guy was very nice at first, and then Josh just said, "Hey, I just got here. I just need you to stand up because I need to arrest you." And he said, "What for?" And he goes, "For domestic violence. So I just need to cuff you so that we can talk about this." And so he started to get up. And as he got up, he had a gun underneath his leg and shot Brody first in the chest, and it hit his vest. And then as that happened, Josh fired his entire weapon on the other gentleman, and that's when Josh got shot a couple times and went down. So I was at home, and I started closing all the windows, waiting for him to come home because we hadn't even had birthday cake yet. And my son wanted a piece of birthday cake, and I said, "Dad will be home any second." And so I'm shutting the windows, and it was probably 20 minutes later, and Dale Danter was at my door, and he was sobbing. And I knew at that point, looking at his face, that he was dead. And I told my son, I said, "We need to go to the neighbors." And that was the worst day of my life, was watching my kid walk up to that house, knowing that when I would come home, I'd have to tell him his dad's dead. And so I got to the hospital, and I ran out of the car. I sat in the ER for quite a while. Nobody told me. Apparently everybody there already knew. I was not told that he was dead yet. And one of the nurses grabbed me by my arm and said, "We're gonna go in there and it's gonna be really bad." So I said, "Okay," thinking he was still alive maybe. And I walked in there and it seemed like nothing but white coats everywhere and police. I was shocked anyways. But I sat there holding his hand and the nurse just said, just keep talking to him, he can hear you. And I said, okay. So I just kept talking to him. And then it was probably a minute later, the doctor just turned to me and said, he's dead. I just have to tell you that he's dead, he's gone. And I think I just kind of screamed a little bit and cried. And then I just asked if everybody would just leave so I could be with him. Since I had already been out in the hall forever and waiting to be in there, I wanted to be in there with him at least for a while. Yeah, I just held his hand and told him I loved him. And I just said, your son loves you too. But I said, I can't stay here with you because I need to go home to our son. When I got out, the nurses, they just grabbed me by the arms and we went out the back door. And I fell to my knees because I walked up. And all the way up the hill was blue lights. Just blue lights all the way to my house. I remember just running and grabbing my kid and holding him so tight, and I just didn't know what I was gonna say. Like, you don't know as a mom, like, what you're gonna tell your kid when your dad dies, and they're only 10 years old.
Your husband made the ultimate sacrifice. Do you think people will remember his name?
They will, because I won't let them forget. Because there's a lot of people that don't deserve that type of attention. But my husband and other officers and first responders, they deserve the attention because they're the ones that are there for us. They're the ones going into the burning buildings and into the violence to protect everyone else. So I think that they deserve to never, ever be forgotten. And no one's noticing that what they're changing is affecting them, and it's not making it better, it's making it worse. You've never been a supporter of the police, and I just appreciate it if you just don't come anywhere near my town.
No, I totally understand. Respect your rights. Well, first of all, the tragedy of Deputy Owen's death is it's unspeakable for the family. I'm going to honor the family's wishes on this. I spoke with Ms. Owens, and I'll just leave it at that.
Did you ever think you'd be the father of a fallen officer?
I actually did the math. Statistically, it couldn't be my son. And so I had thought through that. Matt and I had a very long conversation at the campfire one time about, I think it was more that I was able to make sure he understood what it meant and what he was doing. And we talked for a while about who would be impacted if anything ever happened to him, and what it would mean to the people around him. And he sat patiently and listened to me, and he talked about a few things, and he understood, he said. And at the end of it, I think I said, Matt, you really, really get it, right? And he just stood up and he hugged me. He knew. He knew.
Being a police officer isn't an easy job. It's dangerous. But do you think it's even more dangerous due to the political environment here?
Originally, I didn't. But when Matt was in field training, it was the same time as the George Floyd incident. And to see police that were new to the job in the same situation Matt was training with an officer be prosecuted for actions they took during training, that scared me a little bit. I think the environment that these police work in is far more dangerous than it needs to be.
Do you think in a way that's why we're in the situation we are in? Because for too long people have stayed quiet and not shown that support.
I for sure think that's part of it. I think the other complicit person or entity is the media and the way that they're in lockstep sometimes with the narrative, and there's no break. You can go from channel to channel, and it's word for word.
Reimagining policing.
Reimagining policing.
Reimagining policing.
Reimagining policing.
Reimagining how we do public safety in America.
And people who don't know, they believe that. It creates an environment where it's not safe for police. Matt was a policeman for 4 years. He was in 3 incidents where there was a weapon, and the third one killed him.
That's right, baby. And I hold my shit sideways because I'm blazed different. And we shooting at that white thing down there. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm picturing a white person.
And what does that say about the lawlessness that's been allowed?
Well, it's rampant. I think the level of respect for police is gone. I think in every single situation, whether it was the Burnsville incident or whether it was Trooper Londregan, or whether it was pick one. I think had the lawful instruction from the officer been followed in every single case, nobody dies. No police, no people, nobody dies.
What will you remember most about your son?
His smile. What a good kid he was. How much he loved his job and the people he worked with. Loved the people he worked with, as I now do. I want to say just real quick how grateful I am specifically to the Burnsville Police Department and the family that was Matt's. They have been unbelievable to my family and Paul's family and Adam's family. Have embraced my family like their own. It's not a buzzword. Matt was a part of a community that cares about each other. These people are in a high-stress situation every day. They are going to work, not knowing what kind of crazy thing is going to happen, and trying to prepare themselves so that they don't make a mistake that causes their department to get sued, or that they don't make a mistake that causes a partner to get hurt. But with no knowledge of what might happen, that's hard to prepare for. And I just think we owe these brave young men and women We owe them better. We owe them more. We owe them respect for the danger they willingly face on our behalf. My son was a part of that group, and I think it took him dying for me to really understand what he was a part of. I tell people I am maybe level 12 proud of my son and his friends and what they did. I am probably somewhere in the level 20 sad all day. It's hard. Everybody on that call, from the dispatcher to the officer blocking traffic, 7 young girls walked out of there alive, and there wasn't one of them that wasn't at risk that whole time. In terms of the title hero, I think you go ahead and pin that on pretty much every policeman and woman. They are willing to go where no one else will. I think my life from now until the day I die will be spent supporting police in any way I can. So if this helps, or if that helped, I'm happy to do it.
This case has changed you.
It has. It has.
How you doing, my man? I'm gonna need you to step out, though. We have some stuff to talk about, okay?
What?
We just have some stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna.
Every time y'all talk about, we
come
need
on.
some stuff to talk about. Y'all can take me to jail, but for what?
Okay. We have some stuff to talk about. It's with Ramsey County. We just have to have you step out.
Yeah, hold on, no. Well, Ramsey County?
Yes.
Never.
Okay, do you want just
No, because I call my attorney right now. Hey, this ain't no funny shit.
Okay.
But if y'all talking about that shit with Terry Young.
But you have to step out, okay?
Hold on, is it a warrant?
No, it's not a warrant. I need you to step out there.
Hold on.
I'll explain it all out when you get out of the car.
Hold on, is y'all finna get on some funny shit? Y'all keep it a buck with me, bro. But if y'all finna get on some funny shit with me, y'all can tell me right now.
Hand me
so I
the
can
keys.
call my attorney.
Can you hand me the keys?
Can't hand you my keys.
Hand me the keys to the vehicle.
Why?
Hand me the key to the vehicle.
Why?
Just hand me the key.
Can y'all keep it a buck with me, bro? Y'all pull me over my headlights.
Okay. Yep. We already passed that. So like I said, you're gonna need to step out of the vehicle.
Okay, we passed that, so where we at then?
Okay. You need to step out of the vehicle.
So where are we at then now?
And I'm gonna explain it all when you step out.
But when you say step out of the vehicle, you gonna explain it to me.
This is not a lawfare.
And then y'all
hey man, you've been super cool. Get out of here. Get out the door now!
This morning, we filed a criminal complaint against Minnesota State Highway Patrol Trooper Ryan Londregan, charging him with 3 counts in the death of Ricky Cobb II. He is charged with second-degree murder, unintentional, first-degree assault, and second-degree manslaughter. Our community continues to navigate the compounding trauma and grief that results from the tragic loss of our community members at the hands of police. We want him to have a fair trial.
What was your reaction then to the murder charges against Trooper Ryan Londregan?
I was shocked. Somebody that understands the law in Minnesota, understands reasonable force, also understands in 2021 the legislative changes that occurred post-Floyd. I knew that this was something that was not only a reach, but something that should never have been charged at all. And I think as a prosecutor, you're a minister of justice, and the rules prescribe that even if ideologically, even if personally you don't believe something, you still have to be in accordance with the law. And this was something that I saw, the county attorney, she campaigned on what she describes as police accountability, and this was her first chance to fulfill that campaign promise.
Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty has more than once mentioned white supremacy as having something to do with what took place that night. What do you think when you hear statements like that?
First of all, above all else, I can use kind of crafty, use high-level words and call that's outrageous, that's egregious, blah, 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 blah. It's bullshit. It's absolute, 100% pure, unadulterated bullshit. She has been trying to inject race into this literally since day one. And then in that last press conference, by repeatedly referring to a white cop killing another black man.
Less than 2 weeks ago, the country marked the 4-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. I was dismayed that no one mentioned Ricky Cobb II, a black man who was killed by a white trooper from the Minnesota State Patrol during a traffic stop.
This is the politics of division. This is the politics of the more that I bring that up, the more I can create my own internal outrage and draw those people in order to try to get reelected again.
I first want to acknowledge the Cobb family. They continue to grieve a devastating loss amid a political circus that has repeatedly tried to center Mr. Londregan as the victim. The defense team, paid for by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, encouraged over 100 supporters to be bussed in, handed out free support Londregan t-shirts, and created a gauntlet downstairs Members of our staff were frightened at the spectacle, which reminded them of January 6th. How is this behavior acceptable? How is that behavior acceptable?
The reality is that there was a criminal that was wanted that night, that then started to flee a legitimate stop and put two different people's lives in danger at a minimum that night. I don't care if he's black, I don't care if he's white, I don't care if he's Asian. That's wrong. And if he does that to anybody, including law enforcement, he needs to be stopped.
All the troopers needed to do here was to approach the car. They could have put down stop strips under the rear wheels to puncture his tires if he drove away. But all they had to do was say, Mr. Cobb, we are going to arrest you, and allow him to make the decision. Am I going to speed away, get charged later with a crime, or am I going to get out? He never, ever had that opportunity.
Well, let's look at that. Here is the criminal complaint in the case. All right, this is something that Hennepin County drafted, that Mark Osler, on behalf of Mary Moriarty, signed. What does it say? There's a statement of probable cause. Top of the second page, when you say step out of the vehicle and you're going to explain it to me, and then you all, Trooper A injected by stating for the first time, this is a lawful arrest. At 2:16:57 a.m., just as Trooper A told the victim that he was under arrest. This is her own document. Yet she wants to look you in the eye and say he was never told that he was under arrest.
We have been in such a climate of anti-cop that I think the pendulum is swinging back and people are again supporting it. And this was a perfect case. Ryan should have never been charged in the first place. He was innocent.
There's no respect towards law enforcement, or very little. And not only that, there is no fear of any consequence for actions taken. And we've just gotten to a point where I think people are tired of it. I mean, the day that we're calling Ryan the suspect in this scenario, for me, is a day where cops saw that's enough. That is enough. We need to do something, and the first thing we can do is support Ryan and his family.
We need to get back to the day when we played cops and robbers as a kid. In my backyard, the cops were the good guys and the robbers were the bad guys. And it shouldn't be a debate or me trying to convince you that cops are good guys. They are. That's it. And why Mario Moriarty has to continually talk about, more police violence. Just shut up. Just shut up. I mean, the best thing that she could honestly do for all of us, just shut up. Do your goddamn job that you got elected to do. I mean, if you commit a crime, then do the time. That's it. And honestly, it's sad that a defense attorney has to be saying this out loud and has to be saying this to a prosecutor, because right now the fox is in charge of the henhouse, and it's really dangerous.
Arriving on that scene, probably the worst moment in my life, seeing an officer down in the middle of the street.
Squad 512, look, we have at least 2 victims outside at the location, bleeding.
512, copy.
Hey, are we on? Hey! Who shot you? Who shot you? Are there victims inside?
I got there just after the last shots had been fired. Tremendously chaotic scene. Nothing that you would ever want to go through in your career.
Active fire on channel 3. Again, there is active rounds being fired on channel 3.
Yep, there's a cop down. Where's it coming from? Yeah, we have multiple shots fired. Multiple shots fired. Where is he?
Multiple still being fired.
Cop down. There is a cop down. Middle of the street.
Do we have any location of the officer?
Middle of the street, a block north. Where is he? Move forward. Lexi! Lexi! Where is he?
342, what's your location so I can get more people to you?
We're moving forward up the fire now. If somebody actually went around the back and took a shot at him, go around if you can get around that corner.
I'm going to be,
right there, I see him.
Between Blaisdell and Pilgrim, looks like. Multiple shots fired over here. We're going to need perimeter. And might as well start fire even. They're started to the area. We're going to patch with LTAC.
Yeah, it is. He was the one shooting right there.
If there's any other officers, we do have another victim in a red.
Every officer coming to the scene, come from the south, don't come north. Hey, I'm going up. We're going up. Take this, take this. Anyone else? Anyone else? We don't know. Hey, get down, get down.
343 with the officer that was down.
Officers are with them now. Officers are with them now.
It's the only shooter we got. Copy, officers with the one that shot down.
I'm coming above you, okay? I got you, I got you.
For me, the emotional toll from that day is just, I can't even put it into words. Seeing a partner and a colleague like that in the middle of the street.
Suspect is a black male wearing a hoodie. And we're getting shot at here. Somebody second in Blaisdell. Actively shooting.
Where?
Copy. Actively shooting 22nd in Blaisdell.
Where? Where's the guy shooting? That guy, come here. You're on the ground. Yeah, go. Watch out.
Multiple shots being fired. Still shooting. He's mid-block here. Copy. Still shooting mid-block.
Officers firing rounds. Hey, let's go. Move up. Move. Get this car.
We have information that we have an officer down. 10 shots still being fired.
191, 2 blocks out. Let's move. Come on. We're good.
Information
You gotta get moving, dude. Come on.
He's
still moving.
Blue vehicle. Suspect is a black male wearing a white shirt, black hoodie, jean cutoff shirts, and brown shoes. 2115 Blaisdell. Information coming from.
He's down. He's down. Move up. Hold up. Come on. Reload. Straight ahead. I got you.
Stay around 22nd and 21st. They're shooting somewhere between the blocks. Copy. Stay away from 22nd to 21st and Blaisdell. He's shooting from that block.
Get up. We need handcuffs on him.
Yes, I'm an officer now.
Anyone else? We don't know. The guy with the gun. Hey, get down. He's right here. Let's go. This is the only shooter we got so far. It's the only shooter we got. Hey, don't grab my shooter.
Looking back on it a little bit, it was a testament to just some of the heroic activities that we saw by some of the other cops that came from all over the city, all over the county and state, really.
What kind of toll has his death taken on the department?
A lot. We have a resilient department. We've been through a lot as a group and a family for the last 4 years. I think what you see now is a testament. These cops are absolute heroes for coming to work under some of these conditions, right? We're short bodies, trying to make and respond to calls all over the city as best we can. It's really just trying to do the absolute best job that we can for everybody.
What was Officer Jamal Mitchell like as a person and as a police officer?
Phenomenal person, great friend, amazing family man, and a cop that everybody in the city could look up to as far as work ethic and what he did in the 5th Precinct.
We're thankful to he was able to read the scene and get there and do what we can to save lives. And that's what I signed up to, that's why I got into law enforcement, to do what I can, save lives.
Who shot you? Are there victims inside?
For those who say this was a political decision, absolutely not. I think I've made it very clear in my tenure as county attorney, I don't make political decisions. I make the ethical decision at the time.
For Minnesotans across the state, here in Minneapolis, but across the state, you're feeling the trauma of this once again, because this is one of those incidents should be unthinkable, but it's very thinkable because it's now happened 4 times in the last couple months where we've had public safety officers responding to the call that people make to 911, rushing into that situation, and in this case being ambushed, and a loss of life for Officer Mitchell.
We can hold 2 things. That, yes, there have been increased assaults on law enforcement. And we had the tragic situation in Burnsville and now what happened last week. But we can't get sucked into this narrative of there is a war on law enforcement.
She blamed white supremacy.
White supremacy is ingrained everywhere. In all professions, and so of course it's ingrained in policing.
Do you think that had anything to do with what took place that night?
No, I don't. It's people use these buzzwords and they, try to cast us all in the same light, and it's just not. It's not true.
No peace, no justice, no peace. No persecute the police. No justice, no peace. Hey, yo.
You worry about your officers?
All the time. I worry about my cops all the time. Now, we go out here, our core values, respect, and we treat people with respect. But there are people out here that just flat out don't like law enforcement just because we're law enforcement. And not liking us is one thing, but the outright disrespect for authority and the rule of law, that concerns me.
You got folks in the governor's office, you got folks in the mayor's office, and they think that the community is the problem. They think that the people out here are the problem. They think that it's just a bunch of rabid activists who had no impulse control.
We can change the name of the public safety, the makeup.
We talk about Minnesota, and I oftentimes point the rosy picture of where we rank on certain things. You've heard me say this as a teacher, we rank last on school counselors and social workers. So one of the things is of trying to find those people, trying to have them out there and trying to have them integrated into real life. I think it's, imagining that we're going to have a call up and that police are going to rush and social service folks are going to rush. I don't think we're thinking creatively enough to look what our communities look like, what we're asking for. And I think there's a strong argument out of this that if we continue to chase our tails and don't fix the big stuff at the front end, the economic inequities, the educational inequities, those are the things that lead to a lot of these situations. So I don't know if anybody wants to speak specifically. Rena?
I'm seeing a lot of reporters ask questions about, if there's a fatal drive-by shooting, what are you going to do? Or if this other thing happened, who would respond? The answer is we're going to come up with that solution together.
My daughter was 12 at the time that whole defund the police movement came out. And I wanted her to be able to feel it and see what the results of the riots were. There was a huge sheet in front of somebody's house that said, "Abolish the police." She looked at me and she said, "Dad?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "If something happens at that house, who do they call?" When a 12-year-old child is smarter than a lot of the people that are calling for defunding and abolishing the police, we are in some seriously bad shit.
Our commitment is to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department, to end policing as we know it.
So I'm going to say this. I said, we as leaders and our political leaders, I don't understand why we consistently say we have brave first responders who have to run into these situations when we as policymakers could do something about that. We could do something about the gun violence that impacts first responders.
We're absolutely going to make sure that there are systems in place to address an active shooter situation, for example.
Who shot you? Who shot you?
Is there a connection then to your client's case and 4 dead police officers and a first responder in 13 months in Minnesota?
Do I think that there's a connection? You're damn right that I think that there is a connection between all of this. It's statistically shown that the amount of violence against police officers has gone up dramatically since Floyd. And a lot of that, first place that I go, that I think a lot of people do, is you blame your leaders, your politicians. I get it when people say, Walz is doing something wrong, Ellison's doing something wrong, Moriarty, Jacob Frey, I get all of that. Where's the ultimate blame go? How did they get there? Us. It's on us. We need to start remembering the government's #1 role is public safety. It's to make sure that all of us, every race, creed, ethnicity, is safe. It's not a big ask, and they've forgotten it. They've either forgotten it or they don't give a shit. I don't care which one, as long as it changes. But again, at the end of the day, it's on us.
It creates an environment where it's not safe for police, it's no longer safe for citizens. You can look, and the world is a far different place than it was prior to George Floyd. And the decisions they made here as a leadership group of this state, they didn't just affect Minneapolis, and they didn't just affect Minnesota. This had some far-reaching kind of ramifications for all kinds of cities across the United States and around the world.
The more divided we are as a state, they're better off. And I'm simply not going to be quiet when I see that. I squarely blame these people that continue to spout, which I know to be false rhetoric. The reason they do that is that division sells.
But what does that say also, that it seems that they're not willing to have these conversations?
Silence speaks more volumes than anything else.